A New York jury has found the Trump Organization guilty of criminal tax fraud. The jury agreed with prosecutors that the business had been giving executives perks in lieu of pay. That way, they didn't have to pay taxes on their income, and the Trump businesses didn't have to fork over payroll taxes. They'd been doing this apparently for more than 15 years. Prosecutors argued Trump was aware of the tax fraud and signed off on the scheme. Let's go to Richard Painter, former White House ethics lawyer. He joined us to talk some more about this. Richard, the company found guilty, but Donald Trump personally has not been found guilty in this. Do you think it will affect his brand, his run for presidency?
Well, Marla, I think this is a serious concern that Donald Trump is exposed not only to investigations and potential prosecution in connection with the tax fraud at the Trump Organization that he knowingly assisted with, but also the insurrection of January 6th and the attempt to overthrow the results of the 2020 election, the subject of an ongoing criminal investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice. And election fraud in Georgia. There's a grand jury in Georgia that is considering whether to prosecute Donald Trump for solicitation of election fraud, which would be a violation of both state and federal law. Those are only some of the many legal difficulties that he has. He also could be prosecuted under the Espionage Act for taking classified documents down to Mar-a-Lago. This is a president who has attracted an enormous number of criminal investigations during his presidency and after, as well as civil lawsuits.
Will it discount him, though, from being able to run?
Well, it should. There's only one particular crime, that is sedition, that would be disqualifying under the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, Section 3. Anyone who has sworn an oath of loyalty to the United States, who gives aid or comfort to an insurrection, the type of thing that happened on January 6th at the Capitol, is disqualified from public office, cannot serve. And I believe Donald Trump may very well be stricken from the ballot in some states because of that. He may very well be charged with sedition by the U.S. Department of Justice. The other crimes are serious. I believe they should be disqualifying. There's nothing in the Constitution that prohibits the election to the presidency of someone who's been convicted of a crime other than sedition and insurrection.
The court finding today, will that affect his ability to do business?
It certainly should. One of the problems with corporate crime, and we found this with the banks back in 2008 when they all collapsed, a bunch of the Wall Street banks, is that the institution, the organization, is found to have violated the law. Sometimes billion-dollar penalties are imposed, or the company fails, but individuals too rarely are held accountable. And we need to have a legal regime that goes after the individuals. And sometimes they are held accountable. We have Enron, WorldCom, this FTX scandal with Sam Bankman-Fried. I believe he has exposure, and so does Donald Trump in connection with the Trump Organization. But we do need to hold individuals criminally accountable when we have violations, serious violations of law by corporate organizations and other institutions.
All this being said, Richard, his base is his base. They sort of back him through anything. Do you think this will affect them?
There are going to be 20–30% of the voters who will vote for Donald Trump no matter what, although increasingly they are seeing that Donald Trump's endorsed candidates in these races in 2018, 2020, 2022 lose, as did Donald Trump lose in the 2020 election. And so eventually a lot of these very conservative Republicans are going to start to rethink and say, well, maybe we'd be just as well off with one of the other candidates who doesn't have as much baggage and indeed doesn't have as much criminal exposure to criminal prosecution.
Yeah, we'll have to see if more Republicans start to fade away from Donald Trump. Richard Painter, thanks for your time tonight.
Well, thank you, Marla. Thank you.